close. Give me 1 minute. Let me just close the door.
Okay. Okay, welcome guys. We are live now, and
Okay.
we're expecting our guest. So,
I'm here.
Our speaker is here, and our speaker is Mr. Oládélé, and he'll be speaking on Africa for Africans. So, guys, I welcome you to the Dixon Leadership with Mr. Oládélé. Thank you very much, sir.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so
Hi,
much.
Miracle.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, sir. We're grateful to also have you too.
Absolutely
Okay, so
fantastic.
the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, Africans for Africans, the way forward. Today, I'm gonna look at the education process. At the moment, and I'm in Nigeria at the moment. So people say to me, I'm not in Nigeria, but I'm in Nigeria at the moment. So they say I talk from abroad, but I'm home. So from that perspective, what I've seen is a miseducation of the black man. For somebody who lives in the West, when I'm home, I want to see Africa everywhere. But for some reason, what I see is Africa that's trying to be like the West. Okay? There's nothing wrong with sharing ideas from the West. Whatever works is good. But what I find at the moment is the fact that our African originality, the basis of the foundation of our base is being eroded. We so seem to think that everything in the West is good for us. And this is my biggest challenge. This is one of the biggest things, I've been here and I've been banging my head against the wall. I've been frustrated. The people I meet, the way people think, the way they talk. Miracle, I'll say the trend in Nigeria right now is that everybody wants to go abroad. Everybody wants to jackpot. Everybody wants to jackpot. That's the trend at the moment. And this is basically, and why do we think we want to run away from this country? Why do we think this country cannot benefit us? And that's one of the biggest things, the challenge we're facing at the moment. I mean, education is basically one of the main, like I said, is the main reason. But moving from there, the fact that we don't value ourselves and we don't see the need to actually build. And I'm going to put this the blames at the feet of my generation. Okay, I'm in my 50s, mid 50s, and there used to be a time when I went to school in Lagos. I went to Jakonde, one of the Jakonde schools, the so-called poetry schools. I went to one of those schools, but in those days, my parents didn't have to worry about the burden of school fees because school fees was free. In those days, private schools was a luxury. The public schools basically was the gold standard of everybody to go to. Moving forward, I'm looking at Nigeria today. Education has become a liability for a lot of parents. So a lot of parents cannot send their kids to school, and the burdens on the parents. I mean, Nigeria right now is basically, I'll say, Nigerians are suffering so much in terms of the affordability, being able to buy anything. I see poverty everywhere. So having the burden of having to educate your kids with the government not investing in the public schools is basically, I say, is a crime against humanity. Okay. Consequently, you have the private schools that the curriculums in these schools, I don't know who the kind of regulators they have, because I've seen a few and I don't know how they're regulated. So that becomes another problem, because basically you got private schools popping up everywhere with no government regulation, no standards enforced. And then we continue to have the perpetual problem of the miseducation going on. And then from there, I'm looking at the way we think is the key, our mindset. The inferiority complex that makes us think that we Africans are inferior to the white man. Excuse me to use that language. I'm going to put this in a kind of historical perspective. The name of my organization is called the Emerging Alkebulan. Alkebulan means mother of mankind. So I chose that name deliberately because a lot of people ask me, what does it mean? It means mother of mankind. So Africa is the birthplace of humanity. So from that onwards, in terms of civilization, if you look at the pyramids, it was us. If you go through Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, down that strip, we had basically everything. The Greeks and the Romans came to Africa to learn. Everything that they see, the Greeks and the Romans, everything you see the white man tell you today was something that the knowledge they shared from you. It was your knowledge taken away from you. And what they've done, because the white man's so clever, what they've done is they've rebranded it, they've rethought it, recalibrated it, they've redone everything, and then they've sent it back to you. So your history was taken away from you, and then it was sold back to you. And then now they're making you think that you are inferior because whatever your education you're receiving is from them. But the education that you get is you. But the sad thing about the whole this is the fact that now they sent you a curriculum which is Eurocentric. It's colonized driven. Okay. And now you've taken it and you're imbibing it. So if you look in the schools, in the university, in the schools today, basically your curriculum is a Eurocentric curriculum, which has nothing to do with our environment, has nothing to do with our ecosystems, has nothing to do with our culture, has nothing to do with our heritage. So now, you know what's happening to us now? Now, we're being trained. Forget there was slavery. Yeah? Slavery, they voluntarily, they took us away as slaves. That was not voluntary, that was intentionally driven. They took us by force. But now, in our minds, we've been voluntarily enslaved again through the education that they've given us. Consequently, what you see is that Eurocentric thinking. We cannot think for ourselves unless we go to a book or an ideology that the white man has put in a book. We have culture, we have heritage. African education should be based on our heritage, our culture, our history. I know I was speaking to people and they told me that history is back in schools. But I'm trying to find out what kind of history has been taught in schools. For a lot of years, history was taken away from the schools completely. They were not teaching history in schools at all. Now it's come back, but I'm just wondering what kind of history is it watered down? Is it proper history? I don't know. But the thing is that they've taken all these things away from us. They've given us ours, curriculum. For me, education is great. I'm not demeaning education, but education is good as the information you take from it and how you use it and the kind of information they give you. So for me, Western education is basically somebody else's ideology. Okay, and this is basically the misconception of education. If you do mathematics, physics, or something, it's basically, I don't know, it's somebody's thought, somebody's ideology. They put it in a curriculum, they wrote it down. Somebody built that curriculum. It was based for their environment, not us. And then they've given it to us, and then in our schools, we're basically. And somebody told me, I was in a cab coming to where I am right now, and the guy told me that somebody told me that the schools parents are trying so hard to get the school into schools that teach European curriculums. That got me so bad that, you know what, this is how messed up our minds is. So basically, you can see where I'm going with this. Everything's been pushed towards making us think that we're inferior to ourselves. Like I've said, from the foundation, I've said we built all these things. But what we're not doing as Africans right now is taking responsibility to develop. We have professors, we have all these academicians who have been in education for the last 30 to 40 years. And for some reason, in their own wisdom, I don't know how they're thinking, in their own thwarted kind of thinking, they felt that the indoctrinated education is suitable for Africans. Okay, miracle. If this education helped us, so thus far, how have we built Africa of our dreams? Is that happened? If that education is working, have we built the Africa that's working for all of us? What the education is doing for us, I'll tell you what's happening. Because, like I said before, they took us in slavery, forcibly before. Now they're taking us voluntarily. Because what they're doing is they're building another pipe, a constant flow of indoctrinated, Western-educated Africans to Europe. So what you're doing is, once they've trained you in Africa, now you're voluntary. And then the worst thing is the fact that we now have to go and pay to beg them to come to their country. And then lately, the visa has been relaxed. They've let so many come in because now they need you. And the fact that they've trained you with their curriculum is easy for them to let you into their country because you speak their language. So the assimilation is easy. So this is basically where we've gotten to as a people. Unfortunately, for that reason, us as Africans, the value in ourselves is just not there. We're so demeaned, it's a mindset thing. And I don't blame the youth for this, because basically the adults have not been good examples. We have not been good examples. So basically, the Yoruba say, excuse my, you look at the people in front and then they guide you. But unfortunately, the elders in the front have not guided the youth properly. Hence, you guys have to find your own path because we haven't led you properly. And this has got us to where we are right now. So what I'm going to say is Africa has everything it needs to be where it needs to be. And for Africa, I always focus on Africa. I don't want to say about Nigeria because the same problem is all over Africa at the moment. For us to move forward, the next generation, which is your age, needs to grasp the mantle by force, because these old people are not going to leave it, because they pretend they're there, but trust me, they're useless. Then they're basically not doing nothing. So you guys have to take the mantle and basically take it from us and lead. People like me are there to guide and tell you, okay, you know what, don't make the mistakes we made. And you guys need to be radical in moving forward. You have to be radical, because if we're not radical, all we do, as you know, Miracle, is all we do is pray. That's all we do. The work that needs to be done to actually move forward or taking responsibility, we don't do. So religion has become a cop-out for us. So we go behind the religion, we pray, and we think, okay, once we prayed, everything's done. The work is not being done. Consequently, we are where we are today. So I could say the miseducation of Black race is deep. I've been around, I've been talking, I've been going around, and I speak every day I go out, I speak to people all the time. And the biggest problem, the biggest impediment is to the way we think. Africa, we need to believe in ourselves. We are so intelligent. We can do anything we put our minds to. We can actually do anything if we put our minds to it. But like I've said, and I emphasize it again, the reason why we're not doing it because we don't want to take responsibility. We don't want to do the work. We're looking for easy options. That's why a lot of us will go into all these scams and thinking that's the way forward. But for Nigeria to get better, for Africa to get better, we need to do the work, guys. We need to start somewhere. We need to re-educate the way we think. We need to believe that we are more than capable. If we're not capable, look, we have Africans all over the world excelling. Given the right conditions, a Black man will excel. But our African nation, we're not. What's going on? I say to people, most especially Africans in the diaspora, I say to them, there's no point of you being the best in the West if you cannot be the best in Africa. Because what's the point you being the best in the West and your reflection, your home, is messed up? What kind of image are you creating for Africa? So basically, all you're doing is a perpetual subservient kind of attitude that makes you think, okay. And I live in the UK as well, and our people aspire so hard, they work so hard to get to all these levels in Europe, but there's a ceiling. They only let you through when they want you to. But my brothers and sisters, Africa, there's no ceiling. We've got everything we need, but we're not using it. But we're aspiring to actually copy. And if you're going to copy, let's copy the right thing. Okay? If you look at the West, everything that built the West was built on deceit. Everything. I was talking to my cab driver today. Everything that came from the West was built on the religion was built on deceit. Capitalism was built on deceit. On the blood of our forefathers, they built it. Okay? Everything they do, they create wars. They go to war, they divide and conquer us, and then they come in, they take control. As Africans, they knew that we were welcoming. They knew that we knew God, we were spiritual. But they had to find a way to get to us. Hence, they brought religion. Consequently, they took us away from, like I said in the beginning, they took us from our origins to accept what they brought to us. Like I said before, you lose your history, you lose yourself. And hence the inferiority complex that's basically messing us up right now. So, in closing, I believe in Africa. Okay, this man that you're looking here is sold out to making sure Africa works. I'm sold out. I'm sick and tired because I'm on LinkedIn a lot. You met me on LinkedIn, and I post a lot on LinkedIn. I'm into social media big time. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, we're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. Join our groups. I post a lot, and the reason I post is basically to make us think. We need to start thinking. Anything that is told to you, you need to ask questions. Don't take things that is told to you without asking. You have to think, does that work? Doesn't work? Don't just follow for the sake of following. The problem, what religion has done to us as Africans is stop us from thinking. So we hide behind it. So we need to start thinking individually. Anything anybody tells you, ask questions. The reason I say I'm talking to you right now is because I've asked questions about my environment, everything around me. Basically, I've dug deep. I've gone through religion. I've gone through the economics. I've gone through the history. I've gone through the politics. And I've realized that all these four things that I've mentioned, none of it is working for Africans. Until we create things that are going to work for us, and that we need to do the work. We need to basically, I wouldn't say start from the beginning, but we need to push back so hard to basically build what's pan-African. I mean pan-African, Afrocentric solutions for Africans. We need to get away from what's borrowed to define us. Their history, their economics is not going to work for us because so far, so Nigeria 63 years old, will I be? 63 years of Nigeria. I'm 55. So Nigeria is only 7 years or 8 years older than me. Okay? I've grown a beard. I know what I've done in my lifetime. Let's look at Nigeria. What has Nigeria achieved in 63 years? Nothing. What I see is we keep going backwards and people are suffering. We have politicians who don't care. They don't care because every politician that you see there are in the pockets of the paymasters. Because if politics works, if politics works, then Africans should be in a better place. But I can't see it working. So guys, my main message is we need to rethink the way we think. We need to rethink. We need to re-educate ourselves. Ask questions. That's the most important thing. When things are not working, don't accept mediocrity. The fact that we Nigerians accept mediocrity is the reason why the politicians are getting away with what they're getting away. They're getting away with murder because we're not asking questions. We need to start re-educating ourselves. Don't believe that everything about the white man is better than you. You are the beginning of the race. You are the inception. You know, look at where Egypt is, where the Garden of Eden. Everything is in Africa. Don't be hoodwinked. Do research. Go, you got Google. Google's your friend. Do research. If Google don't work, there's different search engines that's going to give you information. Because I personally don't rely on Google alone. I use Brave. I use different kind of, because basically it's all controlled information. So you need to also think of moving away from the controlled information as well if you want to know the real truth. Because these guys control everything to the extent that when you search what they want you to see. I think, I'm not going to say anymore. I'll leave it as that.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so
You're more than welcome.
There'll be very few questions I want to ask, and I think it's something that a lot of young people are going to be having issues with, is how can young people face the pressure of wanting to succumb to a system, especially if they've not had to understand it? So like in such a way that, let's say, where you have to want to be like them, but then you don't want to feel odd. How do we live in being ourselves without feeling odd about ourselves as young people?
Okay, that's one of the biggest pressures that young people face, because I grew up in Nigeria as well, and you have to be one of them. But I was a rebel because my mother would say, "Oh yeah, look at those people. They're wearing this is the latest design, so you have to copy what everybody else is doing." And I always say to my mom, "Why should I copy what everyone's doing? I don't like it. If I don't like it, why should I copy?" And I know it's a challenge, but you need to stay your authentic selves, because when you stay your authentic selves, then your mindset is kind of clear. You can see a path. When you follow other people, all you're doing is following the crowd. And when you follow the crowd, you don't see a path. But when you focus on yourself, and I know it's not easy, because I've got daughters who want to be part of the crowd, and I always tell them, don't do this. But sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't listen because they want to be part of the crowd. But to be unique, to be authentic, it takes work, and sometimes it's lonely. But it helps you if you can actually charter that path, despite what everybody says around you. But you need to look within and build yourself up and move forward. So it's work that needs to be done. It's not easy to do, trust me, because we live in the world. And if you live in the world, you want to copy the world because that's what's trending. But what I say to that is also what's trending is not always right. If you look in our world today, the majority are not always right. Right now, majority are just a copycat of everybody else. The uniqueness and the authenticity is not there. For me, I'd rather be on my own, authentic, unique, and go the way I want to go. And that's the best way to go. I know it's not easy to do that, but it's basically something we need to do. Otherwise, we will never get there. All we're gonna do is following other people's paths in life, and you don't want to do that because everybody has a different path. What gets you to where you're going is not where that's gonna get the other person going. And if we follow the blueprint, that's a popular blueprint. The popular blueprint is basically for the crowd. It doesn't allow you to be yourself.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Oládélé. So I think we have 2 more questions and then we would go. And okay, let me ask the question is, so far you've had experience with a lot of young people and you've spoken to a lot of people, you've made a lot of research and all that. What advice would you give to young people, especially in Africa, looking at your experience, looking at things you've studied a lot? What advice would you give to young people?
Whew, that's a big question, man. What advice, man? Where do I start? I talk a lot, man. And where do you start? Because African systems have not helped the youth at all. And that's the bottom line. And I feel sorry. The African system our leadership has not helped at all. So whatever you guys are going to do is something that you're going to have to develop on your own, off your own back. Because unfortunately, the leadership are not there to help you do what you need to do. They're not. Okay, there's people like us, and basically all you got to do is just look for mentorship. Look for people who speak your language, who are thinking the way you're thinking. Reach out to them. Because the systems, like I said, are not working. So I wouldn't push you to a system that's not working, because at the same time, you're going to end up like the kind of people we want to get away from. So, like I said, I've got the Emerging Alkebulan going. The whole reason for that is basically to bring critical thinkers together, and the people who think be out of the box, who don't think in the box, who can think away from the box. Let's get together. Let's brainstorm. So look for mentorship. Look for programs that's away from the norm. So I think that's the way forward. Just look for something different. Don't, because basically following what we have here is not going to get you. Is not going to get you to where you need to get to. So that's basically just look for mentorship. Look for programs that resonates with you. Things you want to do. Look at it, but uniquely, just be yourself. Don't be a copycat of anybody else. And if you be yourself, you will find the path. Basically, what happens is, and that's what's happened to me, as I navigate through uncharted territories, places, the forbidden areas they don't want you to go to, I see clearly. I can see the deception for what it is, and I can move forward. It's big advice for young shoulders, but I'd rather you do that now when you're young, so you get to my age and still being where you are. So you'd rather do the work now rather than leave it till later. I know you want to battle, you want to enjoy yourselves, man. That will always come, trust me. But the work needs to be done now. Otherwise, guys, once you hit a particular age like mine, you're gonna be wondering where the hell has my life gone.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so this question I was supposed to ask before the last one is, how do young people engage in critical thinking? In few words, how can young people engage in critical thinking?
Critical thinking is basically, for me, critical thinking is actually questioning what's around you. Unfortunately, not many people think critically because of the way we've been indoctrinated with religion. Because basically, once a pastor or imam stands on the pulpit there, they all they do is spew things at you. You're not asking questions. You understand what I'm trying to say? And if you've been in that kind of mindset all this while, all you know is people are talking at you. They don't engage you. Even in schools, they talk at you. They will tell you to raise your hands, okay, for a particular question. You have to answer the way the book says, instead of you answering the way you see. So critical thinking is us answering or thinking beyond what the realms of the confines of what they're telling you. And if you can do that, then you can broaden the way you think, because then you can see more. But if you can find yourself into basically what they told you, what a book says, all you're gonna spew is what the book says. What about your thoughts? Your thoughts are as important as what the book says. Then you can bring your thoughts together, what you read together, analyze it, and take information from it that way. That's how you learn. That's critical thinking. And that's what we need to do.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Okay, so this question I think is very important, and because I think it is something that I experienced in my school, and a lot of young people have also experienced in their school. Where, so this exams I was meant to write, and so I went to meet the lecturer, and I told the lecturer, "Hello, sir. I understand. I feel like you know all these things already. What you want me to write in the paper, and there's nothing I'm going to write that you don't know. So, sir, do you mind if I write in my own way?" He said, "Oh yes, very good. That's the essence of education." And then so I spoke to one lecturer about it, the other lecturer, and the lecturer I wrote in the way I understood, and I passed well. And the other lecturers I wrote in the way I understood, but I failed. But now I had the understanding of the fact that I was able to exercise my ability to think critically. Now, how can young people, exercise the ability to think critically without having to succumb to pressures like that, where a lecturer expects you or someone expects you to think in a certain way, and when you don't think in that certain way, maybe you lose an opportunity. So should they join them, or should they learn to know that, okay, if it doesn't work, can create another system?
Put it this way, it's difficult for you to go against the system. The system is built that way, and you have to follow. Otherwise, you're not going to pass. You're not going to pass. So my advice is for you to get out of the system, follow the system, but don't lose your critical thinking. Because otherwise, if you keep challenging, and this is basically African lecturers, they don't like being challenged. They don't like being questioned. They don't like being, they don't, because they will say, "I've told you, that's it. That's how it is." And education is about critical thinking. It's about having different thoughts, even having a chat with a lecturer, you going back and forth and coming to a conclusion. That's how you learn. But in the Nigerian system, African system, our lecturers are authoritarian. If you don't do it that way, they're going to fail you, because, and this is basically the downfall of education. Education disallows critical thinking. Because if it does, we would have a lot more critical thinkers coming out of education. But unfortunately, through religion, through education, they stop critical thinking. So in order for you to pass, I'm sorry, guys, if you have your critical thinking, keep it under your wraps, but keep critical thinking while you play the game until you get out of the system. When you get out of the system, then the world is your oysters, then you can do whatever you like. But to get through the system, if you don't do the will of those that be, guys, you know what happens.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Oládélé. So we're going to let Mr. Oládélé go now, and thank you so much for your privilege. Thank you so much. We're hoping that one day we're going to have a physical meeting, and then we would have you come.
Yeah, no worries. I'm real cool. I'm all yours, man. You got me, man.
Thank you so much.
We gotta build the generations of to come. We need to work together. That's the only way we're gonna move this forward. So, guys, we need critical thinkers. Don't be hoodwinked, man. Think for yourself. Ask questions, question everything. And that's the only way you learn. And Miracle, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, sir. So I'm going to let you go now. Bye, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.